Yeah, cool.
That's the official test right there, huh?
It should be. We fucked up the first time, so.
Oh yeah, the first one was pretty bad. I'm like watching it back and I'm like, I can't look at this anymore.
Yeah, no, dude, it was so bad.
Okay, well, how are we? How are we doing, everybody?
I'm
Great.
good.
Good, okay.
Fantastic.
I'm Kelsey, if you guys are tuning in for the first time. This is Justin, and this is our friend, Christian.
Hello there.
This is our first guest, and yeah, we're gonna see how it goes.
So, yeah, perfect.
Honored.
So, you know, Justin and I are just doing amazing over here.
Yeah, we're not making mistakes every
At
week.
all, none.
Yeah.
We're perfect.
This is episode 4.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. It's been cool. We've been doing good so far
Yeah.
like that. We're making mistakes though. But
We rambled a little bit in the last video.
a lot of it.
It's fine though. I feel like it was good.
There's podcasts that are like 5-6 hours long.
Yeah.
You can ramble as much as you want.
Exactly.
No,
Yeah.
We're
If Joe
excited
Rogan
for that.
can have a podcast for
For-
4 hours long
exactly.
and people like rave about it, I'm like,
Yeah.
you guys can listen for 45 minutes.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Or 55 because the last episode.
That's fine.
Yeah.
So today we're trying one more beer from our local brewery, Tactical Ops. This one is an oatmeal stout. We're trying this because the first beer I had from Tactical Ops was a stout and I really liked it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we're going with that.
I don't think we're gonna normally be doing the same brewery like twice in a row like that at least.
No.
But
We
I
just
do think
felt
we
like
were a little
harsh.
like unfairly
But
harsh.
we also wanted to just give something else a chance. We haven't had a stout on the show yet, and I knew that I enjoyed their stouts. So next week we'll try something different. And it
Yeah.
probably won't always be local.
No,
We'll try to
won't.
keep it local as much as possible,
course.
but we'll see what happens there. We're in the holidays, as you can tell, if you can see my little Christmas friend over there. We have a Christmas
A
llama.
llama?
Which I don't even know.
Oh, there's a chime.
I
There
don't
you
even
go.
know.
Yeah, you're llamaed out right now.
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am. Holidays are great. I spent an hour wrapping 3 presents earlier because I'm absolutely terrible
That's
at
hilarious.
presents.
That's exactly how it would be.
Yeah, same. Honestly, I probably have to at some point just give up. And
I
just,
almost
alright, here it
threw
is.
the box across the room.
I usually just put them in a bag.
No, that's
when,
smart.
I don't know, it's just usually the bag. But
I haven't
It's
started
literally
tissue paper
just
though.
like tape. Like if you look closely at the wrapping paper, there's like tape holding it together because I ripped it so many times and I didn't want to start over.
It's like that's a huge industry though. I mean, you can pay special people to wrap your gifts.
There-
I would.
Yeah.
I
And I
would.
just,
I would.
I mean, I would,
I would.
but my rationale is I'm just someone who, like, I see it. I love the wrapping. I like the wrapping paper how it looks, but I won't pay attention to
Oh yeah.
if there's no
Okay.
creases on the side. It's gonna get ripped off.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's what you should think
I'm
about
just
it.
hoping that whoever gets that poorly wrapped gift just like goes.
Of
for
course.
it.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. So our first segment, as always, is a random thought for the week to keep things light. And this week we decided to go with an embarrassing story.
Yeah.
I don't know who wants to start.
Whoever. You can start.
I can start. I actually already told Justin mine
Yeah.
because Justin, for the past 3 episodes now, keeps somehow bringing in spit into the equation.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I heard that.
yeah. Every episode so far. So I just thought I'd continue the theme.
Well, keep it up. Yeah,
I wanted to
you can't
continue the
stop.
theme. I think that should be
Yeah.
our identifier. So I used to work in retail, and during that time I went into like a training program, and during that training program we used to shadow someone who we were going to be taking doing their job, right? And so I just remember I was so tired and I kept yawning, and my person was training me and they're like talking to the customer, and it was pre-COVID, so nobody's wearing masks. We're probably about as close as me and you were. And I just remember I yawned, and you know sometimes you yawn and like spit comes out?
Yeah, of course.
I think it's
It's
called
just a body
gleeking.
thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Gleeking. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
you're like yawn.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Actually, I take that
I
back.
literally
I've never
just said
gleeked.
that.
Did you? I pay attention.
Literally
to you.
her story.
I pay attention.
Have you ever yawned?
Oops. Sorry.
Yeah,
that's
so that happened, right? And like usually I wouldn't care, cause like it's whatever. But except for the trajectory of my spit landed on the customer's face.
And they felt it?
They definitely felt
Okay.
it because and the person that was training me didn't notice any of it happening, but the customer just stared at me
Oh, they
for
felt
like
it.
20 seconds, and we both kind of looked at each other, and I just turned and walked
You
away.
should just wipe it.
Because I had never ever done anything like that, and I was just like, I don't know what to do, and I just feel so embarrassed that just happened.
Yeah.
That I can't stand here any longer. As this person continued, and the weird thing was that they didn't bring it up or anything, they just stared at me.
That almost makes it worse.
Yeah.
Like the fact that they didn't even.
And I was like, I'm trying to gauge where you're at and how you feel about that happening right now, and you don't seem mad, but you also don't seem any other type of way. You're just staring into my soul.
I totally wonder if this person is like sitting somewhere thinking, do you remember that time an employee spit in my face and didn't say anything?
Okay.
Hopefully this reaches them.
Purpose.
Yeah, right?
I mean, really.
If you're out there, I'm so sorry.
She'll buy you a beer.
Maybe.
That's amazing.
I mean, I don't feel like it was that
Oh.
traumatic.
No.
I think worse things have happened to people in that store.
Oh, for sure.
100%.
Oh, yeah.
Worse things have happened to me in that store.
There you go. That's fair. I'm not skeleton.
It's fair. It's fair.
You can go.
Okay, I can go. My story was a couple years ago. Me and Maddie were my girlfriend Maddie.
My wife's name's also Maddie.
Oh, nice.
There's a connection?
Yeah.
Nice.
Connection.
Nice.
Yes,
Perfect.
yes.
So we went to Chicago for a graduation, like a couple of years ago now, and the Lagunitas brewery is there. And I love Lagunitas.
Yeah.
It's like one of my favorite breweries. So, like, rightfully, you have to get wasted.
Of course. Yeah.
And so that's what we did, all of us. No, Maddie not so much. I think she was like, she was sick. She had a sinus infection, so she was actually hating almost the whole trip already.
Nice.
And
So it's gonna slow you down though.
yeah, exactly. That's what we thought. That's what me and her friends thought. Like, well, we don't have to slow down, but
You're
she
like,
was
you're having a bad time, but I'm not.
Exactly. But she ended up having a good time overall at the Lagunitas like part.
Yeah.
Well, like it's more of the suffering when you're sober.
Mm-hmm.
So we're back at the hotel. It was right before St. Patrick's Day.
Uh-huh.
So it was just like a nice way of thinking. There's daylight savings also.
Oh.
Our flight was at like 3 a.m. It threw us back. We somehow ended up getting like an hour of sleep. So we get on the flight.
Mm-hmm.
I, at this point, had, like I said, been wasted. Now it's been an hour. I'm still pretty much drunk, like, as we wake up. I lose all my, and by the way, Chicago airport security sucks because I had everything possible you're not allowed to keep in your pockets going through the TSA. They were all there, like batteries, like it was actually.
We don't blame you. We don't blame you.
They're great actually because they didn't put any hassle with me, so it was great. But so now we're on the flight. I, like the smart guy, chose because I think the person was already there when we got there because there's 3 seats. He was asleep. Maddie was in the middle. I had the window. Instantly, I have to go pee.
Of course.
So I'm like, damn, okay, whatever. So Maddie wakes him up very nicely. He's totally cool with it. So then I come back, sit down. Like 10 minutes later, I'm like, I have to shit. Like,
No.
yeah, I was like, and I told Maddie, she goes, Justin, you were just in the bathroom. You didn't do it. And I was like, no, I did it. Like, I didn't have to go then. It was like one of the total kid moments. And so then I had to go to the bathroom. So Maddie had to wake him up again. He was cool with it again. Now,
But this man is thinking, like, how small is your bladder?
thinking, yeah. But then after the 20 minutes that I was up, he probably was like, oh, like something's going on. And so, like I said, now it's been about 20 minutes I've been in the bathroom because, I mean, if you've ever done anything in an airport bathroom, like, it's a very horrible place. Like, it's not a great place.
It's not.
And so I'm going, and then I'm like, trying to just like look around while I'm in the bathroom, and you can't hear anything right there because it's right next to the fucking engine.
You're not even at the embarrassing part yet? Okay.
No,
Okay,
no,
wow,
this is the
okay,
great
we're still
part
going.
about it.
We're still going.
This is great,
Pooping
right?
is normal.
Yeah, pooping is
Pretty normalized.
I mean, yeah, this would be a really bad embarrassing story. But so, Maddie gets up to go like check on me. So she tells the flight attendant, hey, my boyfriend was kind of drunk last night and he might be asleep.
So Maddie's now scared that Justin is passed
Dead.
out somewhere
Fallen in,
because
yeah.
Justin's actually known when he gets drunk to
Just
just
like-
pass out and
just
like
like-
you can't wake him up.
Uh-huh.
So she's
I can see why that would be an issue, yeah.
So-
she's thinking, I hope none of the flight attendants have to pick him up
Right.
and take him to his seat.
So-
That would have been a great story.
That would have been better. Damn, I could have done this way better. So I am now. So Maddie goes to the flight attendant, asked her, and then she was like, "Yeah, you know what? He did take a long time." And then so like I'm just kind of looking around, and I eventually look at the door, and there's Maddie and the flight attendant both just staring at me, like neither one is saying anything, like at all. Like I'm not saying Justin. I just look up and I'm like,
They're not
"Hi."
also not closing the door.
No, exactly. They weren't closing the door. I'm just looking at both the flight attendant and Maddie, and I'm just like, hi. And then
Wow.
I had to then walk right behind the flight attendant after to go back to my seat. I'm just like, this is odd. We didn't know too much about each other. But yes, that's my embarrassing story.
Wow.
That was fun.
It was.
Mine's definitely not going to top that, honestly, at all. Yeah, when you told me, I was really, like, not as a cop-out, I was really, really trying to think hard of something, and I couldn't, but I can think of something that's embarrassing that I do, like, frequently.
Okay.
So I'll use that as a supplement. Like, so something that I feel happens to me and probably to other people is that, when you're in a situation and either you meet someone for the first time or you've known them, like you've met them before, but you don't know their name. And I see Justin shaking his head like he already knows what I'm talking about. Like, but you don't want to say, like, you know them well enough, or like they've said their name enough times to be like, yeah, he knows my name now. I've been in that situation where I'm like, I really don't know this person's name at all. Like, and I don't want to ask them again, hey, what is your name? So you do everything possible to go around the fact that you don't know their name, like, and you try to figure out ways to, like, figure out their name without, you know, actually asking them. And I just feel really embarrassed every time I do that. I'm like, yeah, I think this is someone's order, and then, like, you point to them, like, was this your order? Like, what was your name? Like, what was the name on it? And then it's just embarrassing for me every single time. I will get back to you on a better one. I can't think of anything where I've been like...
No, honestly, I do that all the time.
So maybe it's not even embarrassing.
No, it's an issue.
I don't, like...
I'm sorry, I don't remember hardly anyone's name. Like, and there's people that have been in my life now for like a year or so, and like, I still question when I say their name.
Yeah.
Like...
Make sure it sounds right.
No, because like, it's like with Justin or people who I'm around a lot or I talk to a lot, it's like, okay, but like, we don't talk often, and it's like... And then I see you, or like we're not really that close, and then I see you, and it's like I know that you've told me your name like 7 times, but I still don't know it.
Yeah, and I'll just do it, like, there's people that I'll even see, you know, maybe even regularly, and I'm like, I don't know your name, I'm just gonna like pretend like we're past that point, where I don't even need to say your name anymore.
Yeah.
But if you ask me, I'm gonna be in a pickle, I don't know.
I feel like that's even worse when you don't remember their name, and they are like totally like, remember that moment that they met you. You're like, oh my god, Christian, last time, it was so much fun, man, last time, blah, blah, blah. And they're just like, yeah,
You're
dude,
like, yeah, for sure. And then you also don't remember what they're talking about.
Oh, no.
You're like, that was me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you feel, and then I go back, I'm like, I really didn't remember that at all. I did not remember that instance at all.
No, I mean, that is like a thing. I feel like that's like it's a common thing, but I feel like people
honestly,
also aren't the exact opposite too.
For me though, like, my retention is just not there.
Oh, okay.
And there's
That's
a
fair.
reason for that, but like, it's my fault.
Well, me, like, I have a problem with saving phone numbers, like, horrible problem.
Of course. Yeah.
So I will, and then I won't, like, kind of like how you don't want to ask them their name again. You don't want to ask who's this, because obviously they know you.
And then you hit them with the classic line, sorry, got a new phone.
And
they're like, I texted you 2 days ago.
Exactly. That's the
new one.
thing, is that I've actually,
broke.
I could probably go to messages on my phone where I've literally used that excuse already to somebody, and then
Just
I'm
copy
like,
and paste.
yeah. I just sent them a screenshot of what I sent already.
I'm like, dude, my phone erased itself last night when it was updating, and I don't have anybody's number.
Like, one time my friend texted me, well, I know it's my friend now, I didn't know at the time, but he texted me, like, hey man, do you want to go play basketball later? I was like, who is this? And then
You're
the
like,
text
who the
before
fuck
that,
asked
they
you to
had,
play basketball?
I never play basketball.
Exactly.
But they asked me to play
Who is-
basketball.
Are you sure you have the right number?
Right? But the person that it was, I had played before with basketball.
Okay.
And the shitty part about it, too, was like the last time he talked to me, it was like, happy birthday, dude. And I was like, thanks, man. Like, that's what he texted me.
Yeah.
And then this time he said, hey, want to play basketball? And I was like, well, I'm going to figure this out. Who's all going? He goes, you know, everybody. Because I was going to be like, who's going? If he was like, oh, John, Jacob, Smith, whatever, I can be like, oh, I know those guys. That's probably this guy.
Yeah.
But no, he was like, no, oh yeah, everyone's going. I'm like, well,
Like, but who's everyone? Because I have beef with that one guy. So
You know that
I
one
should've
guy?
known.
Don't
Like, can you
like
like
him.
list them out, including yourself, first and last name?
yeah,
Thank you.
that's probably what I should do. Maddie hates it because she's like, dude, just ask them their name and save it. And I'm like,
You just can't do that.
that's just too much.
It just,
It's
and
awkward.
even if that's the right thing to do, it just doesn't feel as natural. It feels more natural to say, dude, got a new phone. The
Yeah.
contacts got wiped.
Yeah.
I don't know what to
Again.
tell you again
This
for
I
the
just
5th
have
time.
really bad luck.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
So, Christian,
Yeah.
I feel like our viewers and your viewers, we probably don't know each other much.
No idea.
I feel like a lot of our viewers are Justin's friends.
Some of them.
And
shout
our,
out to them.
and our joint friends.
My mom followed us.
Our joint friends.
There we go.
And then like some of my family and like a few of my friends. So if you could just kind of like introduce yourself, talk about yourself a little bit, so they can kind of get to know you and like know who you
Oh,
are.
and your podcast.
Oh yeah, about that. Oof.
We're gonna get that.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, was that
You're
next?
jumping
I
ahead.
have
You're jumping
notes.
ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can't see those here. My retention is horrible.
Exactly.
I know.
You guys should do the whole shared note things.
We do. Sometimes.
We do. I usually write them out, but then last time I had like multiple pages, and I was like, "This isn't."
Yeah, this feels like college again.
working.
Yeah.
Last time I was just a
And
message.
obviously that didn't work.
Yeah, well, because I saw the notes and I was like, who is this texting me this? I don't want to ask her name, so I'm just gonna.
I wish you could
Way
see
to
me
tie
my
it in.
face right now.
Way to tie it in.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, my name's Christian Sudjian. I love when people ask me like who are you types of things, because it's funny. I did that with my guest, my first one that I had on last night,
Yeah.
and I'm like, that feels like so philosophical.
Who are
I'll be,
you?
who are
Like,
you
who
as a
are
person?
you?
No, but I mean, I'll just keep it really basic. I went to Central, I knew you from there.
Christian and I went to elementary, junior high.
I actually didn't know the
high school
elementary.
together.
I knew the middle school.
But
I
we
didn't know
didn't
the
really
elementary.
know each other until high school.
No.
Yeah.
So I went there, went to Fresno State, got my degree in political science, and I minored in economics. When I first got there, though, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, so I did biology, switched that because I was like,
That's
like
weird.
that.
I couldn't see that for you.
Yeah, I mean, it was fine. I understood it. It was just like, I don't know what I really want to do. And then I
Yeah,
took chemistry, and I said,
sure.
I definitely don't want to do this.
Oh yeah, absolutely not.
So, yeah, then I did that. I kind of worked through, and I really kind of set my sights on teaching. So, both my grandparents were teachers for a really, really long time, and they were definitely always like a motivating factor in like my education. Just like I remember going home after school, going to their house because my parents both worked. Homework right away, like don't do anything, like it's homework right away. Not in a strict way, more in like an encouraging, like yeah, make sure you do your homework, which was really formative because I think some people, you know, and it's not a bad thing either because you can reinforce that learning the same way, but like, you know, other people may have had the experience of you don't touch your phone, like especially now, like don't touch your phone for an hour and a half.
Oh yeah, and that's what's crazy is I didn't even have a phone until like junior high.
Yeah, I couldn't really. That was the same.
And even then, like I think I might have had a phone in like 5th or 6th grade, but it literally only had my parents' numbers in it, and I had no texting.
Was it the one that had like the 4 buttons? Was it
No,
called
it
Firefly?
was it was a flip phone, but they like didn't put texting on my plan, and like and it was like back when you did like minutes instead of like full plans. So then like I would just call my dad like, hey dad, I'm walking home from school.
Yeah. Because you felt cool using it.
And then I'd call him again and be like, hey dad, I'm home from school. Like that's why they got me a phone. Because they just wanted to know like she's left school and now she's home.
Definitely. So yeah, I mean, that was a huge part of that, and that's what I pursued, which was teaching. So I'm actually in like a week finishing up all the way. I was lucky enough to actually like get a full-time position with Central, where we both went to high school.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Working at a middle school, and just something that like, especially like once I set my mind to that, like I saw like this is definitely what I want to do.
Yeah.
Because a lot of my peers that were in those other political science classes, they were all going to be lawyers or do this or do that.
Yeah.
And that was like a brief consideration, but
I remember,
nothing that seriously,
yeah.
because for sure it's a hard profession. Like honestly, I don't think I could have like not just for the amount of schooling, but like the mental stamina to be there every single time. Like I would much, and I think, you know, naturally I'm a fairly good leader, so that's like I wanted to, you know, go down that route of education. So I've started that, been doing it about a year now. I was lucky enough to get a job and kind of start actually working full time in January. So really like that. I coach soccer at the high school as well, which I've done for, at Central this will be my 4th year, but I've coached for 3 other years before that. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. And,
that's cool. I mean, you have a lot going on.
And he's also recently married.
Nice.
I am indeed.
Oh,
indeed. Our registry will be in the link if you want to.
And if anyone wants to give him a gift.
I'll make sure I update that.
High school sweethearts. I thought that's actually how me and Christian became close, because me and his wife are very, very close friends. So we knew each other in high school, but it wasn't until me and Maddie got really, really close that me and Christian also got close, and we were like, hey, like, we get along really well.
Yeah, and I didn't even know.
That, like,
it was weird that you guys.
back then.
It was weird that like when she first said like, oh yeah, I'm starting to like really click. Like I can't remember the exact time, so I won't say that. But like.
Well, because me and Maddie didn't like each other in the beginning.
And then the fact you guys started like hanging out and getting so close.
Yeah, I was like, she's mean, and she looked at me probably like she's annoying. So then, but then randomly we became friends, and ever since then.
Yeah. Well, that's cool.
Yeah. It's just like. It's weird little things like that.
Yeah.
Like, that connect people.
Me and Christian, we went to a really large high school. So like my graduating class was like 1,010 people, or 1,100 people. Yeah, it's huge, and it took forever. But like that's why like we didn't know each other. It's like such a huge school. Like you don't know everyone. And I knew him because he played soccer, and one of my exes played soccer. But like we just ran in different circles. Yeah. So like we didn't ever really meet like that, or we met, but like we didn't really talk like that. You know, it wasn't really.
Well, that's
like
so cool.
that, but
that's a cool way of getting to know each other.
Yeah, it was really cool, and we've been really cool since then. And we talk about a lot of stuff all the time when we see each other. But you did just start a podcast.
I did.
Tell us a little bit about that. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing with that.
Yeah. Honestly, I feel like maybe kind of similar definitely to what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
Which was awesome because like when I first talked about it a long time ago, and like the same time that I brought that up, you were like, "I'm gonna do the same thing." Like not like you were copying me, but like I've been
wanting. Idea.
Yeah,
I'm gonna capitalize on that.
What's it about?
Sweet. Yeah.
Can you just like write down the structure of how you're gonna do it?
Share the notes with me.
Exactly. And I was like, yeah, that was. It's something that like I always kind of pondered and thought about, which would be cool because I feel like everyone has like those driving thoughts or those shower thoughts. Like, man, I could really sound educated saying this or that.
Yeah.
I just talk to myself a lot,
of course,
and I was like, maybe I should do this with someone else on.
It's a sign of intelligence. I mean, that's what the science says. But,
or insanity.
Or insanity. At this point, but maybe we'll find out in a few years.
But yeah, so I really kind of like buckled down on the idea like right when like kind of lockdown started happening. I'm like, well, I'm still working full time, but like I have kind of time to do this as well, and I went back and forth on kind of how I wanted to do it. Like I said on like my intro thing, I'm sure people got like annoyed like like when they would ask me, I'd like jokingly be like, yeah, well, I got my podcast starting soon, so I don't even know if I'm gonna have time. I was just like joking around like stupid stuff like that.
Me and Justin recorded our first episode probably 4 times.
Yeah.
And they're like, we're gonna start this, guys, and that was like months ago.
Yeah.
I like put a poll. I put a poll on Twitter. Was like, what, like, who would listen to our podcast? And then.
It was more than months ago because before we made that video originally, we had just.
Oh yeah,
it was almost a year ago.
We had made the Why You Should Vote video back in March or late February before the lockdown.
Wow.
And posted that, and we're like, this is kind of the stuff we want to talk about, but we just never allocated the time.
Yeah.
Like we never prioritized it. So that was our issue.
No, that's awesome though. I mean, because. You guys had that set up, and it's crazy because I didn't like when I was first thinking of it, like when I had you guys on, like what I thought I needed to actually start it was not what I needed. Like, you don't need that much, which is a cool thing about it. You don't need. You don't even need a table. You can have a microphone and a camera if you want it.
We
you don't
could
even
be
need
sitting
that.
on the floor right now.
You exactly could. You could do Indian
stuff.
You find out a lot of things. You're like, man, I need this and this and this, but it's really just something that's kind of like you need to like help you like procrastinate.
Yeah. Well, for us, honestly, like I had talked to one of my sister's friends who's in like the kind of like the movie industry in Hollywood. Like she works as like an assistant on sets and like for executive producers and whatnot. And she works for like different people who have really great podcasts. And I was kind of like, we've been kind of figuring out, like we want to kind of like make it really good first episode. And she was just like, honestly, just start it.
Yeah.
Like so many people waste so much time.
Yeah. You can improve.
Just trying to make it perfect, and then they never release it or they never get there, and they're never happy with it. So just record it and start it, and then every time you watch it back, like you're gonna see things that you want to do better.
Of course.
And you'll get there.
It's funny because even before this, like now we're watching stuff back. She was like, "Oh, can you change your MacBook setting to like not go down?"
And like,
I'm
can
like
you
messing
stop
with it.
touching your
Luckily,
MacBook?
this last time, right now she was looking at you, but it totally went off again. So I was like, just like this.
I mean, it distracts me.
But yeah, so no, there's. I mean, and yeah, there's like. Trust me, don't get me wrong. Like I want way more stuff for this right now.
Of course,
but like we were just like, you know what? Let's just do the camera. Let's do the mic, and we'll because we were like, you could just always add on to it. You can't.
Well, I think it's really cool with your podcast because, like, for us, like a lot, like I said, a lot of our viewers are our friends. So it's a lot of people who are like-minded with us, and we hope to eventually get to a point where we have more people who like are thinking of different things, and we can kind of all share ideas and opinions and open people up to like new ideas.
Of course.
But I think for you, like I would say, I mean, I don't know, this is just in my head, but I would say like your viewers may not like have as much open views as we do. So like it's really cool for you to be able to like kind of reach different people in like a different demographic.
Yeah,
you know?
Definitely. And I think that's like my whole goal for it is to the name of it is the Civil Society Podcast, and I kind of just started that up. Like I went back and forth on a name, but I finally landed on that. And like my biggest thing is to bring in people specifically who I know nothing about, like, you know, something they're passionate about or something they have an expertise in, or they have something that's like, you know, totally mind-boggling to me. Like, I don't understand, like, why they think that. Yeah. Like, that's the whole purpose of it.
And then Christian asked me to come on one time.
Boom.
Because he knows nothing about you.
But it's also like...
No, because there was mind-boggling things, and he was like, we need to have a conversation.
But I think that's a huge part of it. It's not just like I want to bring on those types of people as well as the people who maybe I agree with on a lot of stuff, because I think the more that you're able to differentiate that and talk to different people about different things, that's going to open people up. And that sounds like really corny to even kind of say, but like it's really true.
Dialogue about things that a lot of people don't want to hear.
Yeah.
And on top of that, like, it's easy to get into like an echo chamber. And,
of course.
Like, and if you're just talking with people that you completely agree with or completely understand, and, you're not going to get out of
exactly.
Well, and like I said, like if your demographic, it may be a demographic who isn't as used to hearing like these crazier opinions, or maybe when they do, they kind of like click, I don't want to listen to this anymore. Like you being there and you being like that link between like those people and the people that have those opinions, like you're creating a channel for them to actually get to like listen and like open themselves up to it, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah. And that's like, I even said, as much as possible when I'm interviewing guests, or even if I do a solo episode, which may happen from time to time, I want to do it in like a devil's advocate form. Like, I don't want to put my opinion out there that much. Like, if someone asks and they ask like what I really feel, then that's like I'm gonna give it to them. But
we're gonna ask you today.
The main thing that I'm interested in is hearing what they think and pulling out ideas and asking questions to dive deeper into that. Not so much like I don't want to bring people to argue with them. That's like a terrible way to do it. Like there's some people who do that, and it's just it gets too muddy.
It's getting like there's a lot of people already doing that, so it's like you're just flooding the
Well, and like I said, like I think like there's a really large demographic of people, and we talked about this on one of our episodes, how we feel like we're in a position where like we can have those conversations with people and they will listen, but like there's a certain way you have to have them, right?
Definitely.
Like
for sure.
if we're not the ones like being oppressed by certain situations, like we shouldn't be the ones like screaming and yelling at people, because that's not helping the people that we're trying to be allies to.
Definitely.
So, and that's why we have this podcast, that's why we have the conversations that we have, because it's like I need to be able to talk about this calmly, logically, and and in a way that people can effectively hear what I'm saying, right? And I think that the best way to do that most of the time is to just say it calmly and do it in a way where they can be open to it and receptive to it.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
100% agree.
But that sounds super interesting.
Yeah.
I'm
we're
like,
really.
excited.
You just dropped your first like actual episode, right?
It's coming out like 7.
Okay.
I have it all set up and
nice.
Yeah, so it'll be coming out at 7. And I don't know like the frequency that I want to do. I'd love to do weekly. My only thing is like I'm a perfectionist in like my head, so I'm like if I miss a week, like that's gonna drive me crazy.
Weekly is hard.
So
weekly has been hard. We might have to go to bi-weekly.
Yeah. Well, I don't like the idea of going bi-weekly, but I like the idea of switching up our days at least.
We're gonna figure it out.
Yeah.
Because I might not be in California for very much longer.
Exactly. Yeah. And
so
the biggest thing is just consistency. I don't care if it's bi-weekly, weekly, alternate every 5-6 days. As long as it's consistent, my mind will be fine.
Life is unpredictable, so.
Of course.
Yeah, and we know, like, we were kind of thinking, like, maybe, like, Christmas week, like, we're either going to have to record 2 times before that, or maybe we'll just say, like, hey, have a great Christmas, like, please go view our other videos that we already have.
Film 4 episodes one day, go change clothes.
We're just, like, how about the last episode, we're, like, sweating and drunk and just, like, screaming at the camera.
Poor people.
But no, so you have been teaching, and how has this year gone for you, like, with your job? Because like, January, we weren't really there yet, but, like, by March, we were in lockdown, so how did that go for you?
Yeah, it's definitely been an experience. So I work at a middle school in Central Unified, and I love it there, and so I got that job, and I really was in person from January to March. Absolutely loved it. I mean, still a huge learning curve, but I feel like just from student teaching and substitute teaching, like I got a really good grip on like being able to relate with kids, from kind of that age up to high school.
I honestly, like, you're brave. Because, like, teenagers, for me,
they're funny, honestly.
I want to punt them.
No, they're really funny. You definitely have those moments, but they're awesome. Yeah. There's just so much, like, that's when, like, they're, especially at that age, are, like, finding themselves, which is really cool. And
there's definitely probably really great moments with them.
Oh, yeah.
Like, this is
it's like such a breakthrough age, too, where it's like,
oh,
I see them getting something. That's pretty cool.
And that's, like, it's those moments that have been harder to come by, honestly, since we've been out on distance learning. But when you get them, it's like, it means a lot. And a lot of times like when I was in person, you would get those. I found that, like, we're teaching them the content, the knowledge that they need to know. I'm a history teacher. But it's like, a lot of the times, it's, even if they just get a little part of that, like, and that they can retain it, like that's the important part.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, like we've all had teachers in high school or college, they just spit fact, and it's like, you got one important part from that. Like that's, if I could gear my teaching, like that's the way it'd be towards, like getting that big idea, not so much like little details that you're never going to use. So it's been interesting. My biggest challenge really is just kind of, you know, making sure that I'm keeping these kids engaged as much as possible. And you never know what's going on at home, so it's like,
of course,
a lot of the times, like coming to school for a lot of kids, it's like that's their escape.
That's
where they can see their friends.
It's also where they get meals.
Exactly.
They might not be getting that at home. It's where they get Wi-Fi.
It's tough. So a lot of what I've been trying to do is just make it as engaging and as fun as possible. It's not, any teacher can just assign a worksheet, go do it, turn it back in by Friday. Like my goal this entire semester and last semester when we went out is to make it engaging, you know, try to make that impact where you can, and at least make it memorable in some way. Like even if they say, oh yeah, he's the teacher that, you know, played Kahoot with us all the time, or he played Among Us after class. Like I played Among Us with them. Like, or play any of those games. So it's like anything like that. I found you need to do that, because a lot of the time they're looking at a computer screen for 3 hours a day, 4 hours a day, and it's you need to find a way to keep them engaged. You know?
I can't imagine how, like, because I sympathize with like the kids already that went from in school learning to like over a computer. But then like the other thing that I always think about too is like, well, like you see certain things happen, you're like, man, like that sucks, like these kids aren't getting taught or something. But then it's like you all gotta realize, like, this is brand new to everybody. Like, this learning curve is not just the kids that like suffering; it's the teachers too. It's everyone. It's not. It's like it has been a lot harder. You would say?
I mean, it's been harder just in terms of like making those moments like come to reality. Luckily, like I'm grateful for my age and like the era that I grew up in. Like the technology integration aspect hasn't been that difficult, if I'm being completely honest. But it's more been like how do I get more kids participating? How do I, you know, get kids to get excited about that, or like want to open up and talk about that? And I've gotten flashes of that, and that's made me like really hopeful. But we're gonna, whenever we do go back into the classroom, we're gonna have to catch up quite a bit. So,
of course.
That's what we have to kind of expect. But
so aside from teaching, the rest of your life, how have you been this year? Because I mean, we've talked here and there, but like obviously we don't see each other very often. So how you handled this year, this pandemic, this getting married in a pandemic?
All very fun. I mean, it's just been a lot of like kind of rolling with the punches, which is like kind of what everyone says, what everyone has kind of been going through. But I think that when it first started, my honest outlook was like, this is like 2 months, we're good. Like even
I was so hopeful. I was like, we're gonna be out of this 3 months.
You know, a month.
We'll be good by summer.
And
then summer came around, and I was just like,
we'll be good by next summer.
They said the heat would kill it.
They said the heat killed it.
Yeah, that's what I was like. Someone said that somewhere, so it's got to be true.
You're like, it's 110 degrees outside. Come on, guys.
Fresno can get 10010, it can also get to like 32. So we're like right there where it should die.
At that time, though, my thing was like, you guys realize like it's not only there's other places right now that are very hot. Like it's still going on there too.
Of course.
We were just trying to be hopeful. Justin.
I know, sorry. I'm not optimistic like that. No,
but you're realistic.
I was very hopeful of it being gone by at least the summer, because I was like, man.
Well, and honestly, like this is the first time that we've lived through something like this, so it's like, what do you really expect from it? You think like our government's gonna help us, and everybody's gonna do everything that they can. And it's like the frontline workers and like everything that they have, right? But there's been people who have fallen short, and it's like maybe we wouldn't be here.
I will say though, at the beginning of it, everyone was very nice to the people. Everything was like, everyone was so like, it was like,
just for a short time.
Everyone was like an actual community. It was nice. Like,
and now if you tell someone like, hey, like, do you mind like backing up a little bit? They just scream at you, and you're like, oh,
or like if you try to say like mask.
Oh, can you like just put your mask over your nose?
Yeah,
and they're
but
like,
I mean,
red eyes.
Realistically, like I get it, because like I'm not saying I get it, but I'm saying I understand that, like, you know, like people are fed up right now, and it's like you get told to do something like that, you're like, who are you? Like, who are you? But like at the same time, the other person just be like, I'm just trying to look out for everyone. So it's like, it's so that's fun. So
I mean it's been, it's just been like rolling with the punches again.
100%.
Having to adjust like everything that we're doing. Like I've been trying to find ways just to like really stay motivated in like the things I do, because like working from home, like it's a lot more work than like I imagined it being, just in terms of staying motivated and making sure that I'm doing everything I need to do. And then, okay, I finish all my work, which a good majority of the time I'm ahead, I'm ready. Like, what now? Like, so like there was times, like especially over summer, where I was like working out 3 times a day. Like I had nothing to do, just gonna have to go do something or do whatever. But, like for no
Kelsey
reason.
asked today if she should work out. I guarantee you she didn't work out.
I did, but not for very long.
Well, it doesn't matter.
House to the
I
car.
literally tweeted and I said, should I work out or continue laying on the floor?
Laying.
Like, you know, it was this floor after I wrapped the 3
You're like,
presents.
I stood up really fast and got on the
I
couch.
was so defeated with the Christmas wrapping.
But 3 times a day, that's gnarly.
Yeah, I mean that wasn't all the time. It might be an exaggeration, but like
I work
that
out
was-
probably like 3 times a month.
A year for me.
that'll extend your life period.
I'm
no
just trying
matter
to keep
what.
my heart healthy.
That's exactly.
That's the goal.
Exactly. But like, so I mean, there was that like over summer. Like summer, I feel like as it's gone on longer and longer, I've adapted more and more to like there's certain things like that don't even bug me, or like I don't even notice anymore. Like
Yeah.
I really don't care about the mask at all.
I don't
I
either.
really
I
really
wear them
don't.
so often now where I feel
Exactly.
weird when I'm not.
At first, I
wearing
was like,
them.
that's fucking hot.
Yeah.
Like, and then
It's also winter right now too. I mean,
well, that could be
if
a
we're
difference.
still having to wear masks
Well,
next summer, it might be.
I think even in the
Different
summer I
story.
started getting like that way where I was like, this isn't that bad.
Yeah.
I mean, I got used to it. Like I wasn't a huge fan of it at first. I don't think anyone
Oh,
was.
yeah, I don't
But
think
you
you
know,
can
it's
be.
like certain things you start getting used to. And I mean, it's been trying. There's been ups and downs. Like the biggest thing for me, I'm optimistic by nature. So like I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, there's like silver linings and everything. Like, I'm still lucky enough to have my job. Right, a lot of people don't. I was lucky enough to get married, even if it wasn't what we had planned. And so there's a lot of really good things that still came out of this year that I'm very thankful for. But you have to kind of look for them a little bit. You know,
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
like
of course.
there's so much else going on that
Mhm.
you really have to make sure that like you're not taking anything for granted. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get a lot of those moments now. I feel like that when I see certain things, I'm like, well, it could be worse. It could
It
be
really
worse.
could, yeah.
And a marriage in the
There's
pandemic
so
is
many
like.
times that we've had to say that it could be
It could be-
worse.
yeah.
A marriage in the pandemic is interesting because it's like, I think really though, it's probably better because you're like, I didn't like that person anyways, so they can't come. I'm just kidding.
I'm like, I don't know if that was the case for their
I'm
wedding.
kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah, but we still have to have the big one. We didn't get our deposit. We can't get our deposit back, so we're
Well,
having another one
We're
next
hoping
year.
that by next year this has been calmed down.
Oh, for
at the
sure.
end of it's like
September,
at September. We're
Yeah,
hoping.
No, we're good. There's an vaccine.
I'm in their
We're good.
wedding.
Exactly.
I'm the flower girl.
You need
Just
it.
kidding.
Oh,
No.
isn't there like an age limit on that?
No, there's
No,
not.
there's
But I'm not the flower girl.
There's
I'm in the bridal party.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean this year has been crazy. Another crazy thing is like not only have we had the pandemic, but we had an election.
I forgot about that.
That was a good time.
You did.
We
you.
did. I think we just blacked it out
Yeah.
a little bit.
I think I just blacked out in general probably, but
Just like Chicago.
just like Chicago.
Because like I know for me and Justin, it was this whole year has just, especially with like politics
Yeah.
and like watching someone like Bernie Sanders going from like being like
Front runner.
front runner
To,
to
like-
just seeing the DNC kind of like completely ruin his like chance at becoming like a presidential candidate. And me and Justin were just kind of like,
this is the second time we watched it happen.
we just were like
Not the first time.
single tier kind of
Yeah.
thing, but like we got to keep it pushing. How has this felt for you? Like how kind of like has this whole year, but like election wise, politics wise, like how have you kind of like gone through this and like gone through the motions of like thinking and voting even? Because I know that we had a conversation about voting.
Yeah.
And we kind of talked about like the 2 candidates, and we were just kind of like, yeah, like
I'm just.
not great.
Yeah, it's just sad because, again, I switched my major. I was when I first switched my major and I was political science. That was another year of the presidential election, and I'm sad to say that I haven't voted for a president yet in 2 elections, which, not how I expected
But
to
you
have.
still voted. Like for other things.
Yes, exactly.
That's what's important,
Sorry.
people. That's what's important.
Yes, I
okay?
still
We're
voted
still
for
voting.
other things, state, municipal law, positions like that, school board,
Yes.
everything. But it was just like, man, not how I expected like my first presidential election year to like kind of go. Like
Yeah.
I wanted to be, even if not fully set on one, like one that I was confident enough to put my vote behind. And for the past 2, I haven't. So
Yeah.
I feel like I've just kind of looked at everything kind of on the periphery, especially this year, just because you know, even just the whole campaigning situation is different.
Yeah.
I
Sometimes.
was gonna say
sometimes.
number one side hasn't been that different.
I mean,
Once I was like, fuck it.
it's definitely been different in some ways, other ways not. But I mean, I don't know. Just kind of looking at it from the outside. Again, I'm very like I even knew going. You could have asked me like 3 years ago, like maybe that's too long. You could have asked me like beginning of this year, like, are you gonna vote? No, probably not.
Oh damn.
Like you know, like it was. I was at that point where like I already kind of had that in my mind, and you know, I totally I understand the sentiment. Like I get the like one is better than the other in terms of like a lot of different aspects. Like
the lesser of two evils.
I
Exactly.
hate that aspect. I especially.
I understand it.
I hate asking people to vote based off of that aspect.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
Like I hate pushing people to vote for the lesser of two evils.
And the thing is too, like I was not a fan.
Which
of
we
Hillary
did.
Clinton. Yeah,
We
I did
did.
twice.
We voted
Twice.
for the lesser
Over
of
it.
two evils.
But that's the thing, like when people are like frustrated at people who didn't vote or voted third party, it's like, dude, you're asking someone to give up like the one thing they have to like maybe influence something.
Yeah.
Well, and I
And
mean,
it's
where we're at though, we're lucky enough to have grown up in a place like California
where it doesn't
where,
matter.
for
Well-
the most part, for people like us,
Yeah.
it usually goes our way
Yeah.
when it comes to voting.
Yeah.
Maybe not locally,
Yeah.
because Fresno is definitely not as liberal
Yeah,
as
it's
we
split.
are.
It's
Yeah.
split.
California isn't even as progressive as people paint it out to be.
Yeah.
But when it comes to presidential wise, like California is always blue.
Mhm, definitely.
So we
Yeah.
kind of feel like if you're in California, like you should totally vote, and if you like align with one of the sides, great, then you should vote for that side. And like we voted because we just felt like for us, like, you know, Biden is just the obvious choice when it comes down to him and Trump.
Yeah.
He's not the best
Yeah.
thing in the world
Definitely.
for us, and we're not extremely happy about it. But
Yeah.
it was like we're gonna vote.
Yeah. I'm very like sympathetic to a lot of people. I always say sympathetic. Jiggling
It's the
yourself.
bells.
But I'm very like sympathetic towards a lot of people that don't vote and that did vote third party for the main reason of like whether what like your reasons, because if you're conservative, Republican, whatever you are,
Yeah.
maybe you're like, well, you know what, I don't agree with him on this one. And
Right.
you try to be like, oh, lesser two evils, but it's like
Right.
so some people on the for instance like the very far left, they were like,
Mhm.
why would I vote for Biden if his policies are just a little bit better? Like
Right.
that's
Well,
either, especially if it's like
I think what it is though is like it comes back to us living in California, because
Yeah.
if you're in a place like Georgia, then it's different.
Well,
because your vote
yes.
is important, and
But
it
what
is
I'm-
important to like go one way or
when
the
I
other.
get into it though, I'm thinking more of like let's say like climate issues, and like you know if
Yeah.
science does say like you know we have way less time, and they say Joe Biden's plan doesn't go far enough, so people think like, man, why am I going to vote for someone that just does a little bit, but it's still not enough according to science?
See, in my mind, it's like who can we bully more into what I want.
Maybe yeah, that's probably the best way, but it's like who do you want to fight?
And
You
it's
wanna
like,
fight
for
a whole different party or
again,
something?
for us, like in California, like, it doesn't really matter because it is always
Yeah.
gonna go one way.
Mhm.
Probably, I don't know, maybe in 20 years from now, we might be in a different
Yeah.
place.
But
But
it didn't always. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, 30, 40 years ago, that was
yeah,
was,
who
it
knows?
was.
20 years
Reagan
from now,
was
it could be
Yeah.
completely
Governor.
different. But like in places like Georgia or in places like that where they're swing states, it's like it does matter. Like you do actually have to boil it down to like who. I mean, this person I don't 100% believe in, but like who can I at least think that might go my
Yeah.
way, or like
Yeah.
might be able if we gather enough and we organize enough and we do this and that enough, like who might be able to like push into what we
I
want.
do probably think local politics are probably more important than an actual like maybe not more important overall,
us.
but like
For us.
Well, even in places like Georgia, like you know your state, like your governor might be more
Oh
important.
yeah,
than
no,
who
like
you choose as the
100%.
president.
Yeah, but I think
Yeah,
it's just I feel like we might have a different perspective if we didn't live in California.
probably.
Yeah.
I mean, no doubt. I think we have a different perspective on a lot of things we do live in California.
It's gonna be
That's-
really
that's very
interesting
true.
if I do move out of California.
Yeah.
I'm very
Yeah.
nervous. But yeah, I mean, because I mean, like I said, we've known each other for quite some time. We ran in different circles, so like we didn't really know each
Yeah.
other. And then once we did get to know each other, I kind of knew that like we were a little bit different views
Yeah.
back then. But now we've been friends for a while, and we were kind of talking about it. And you had kind of told me like, yeah, like my political views have kind of changed. So can you kind of like go into
Yeah.
like where you were at, maybe like, before, like your different views that you had, and like
Yeah.
kind of how you've gotten to like where you're at now.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm a registered Republican, but like as time has gone on, I'm like, independent sounds nice for a lot of reasons, you know, and
Sam.
it's a lot of, I mean, yeah, the RNC's like looking at me right now, but it's a lot of yeah. So I think a lot of what it's been has been like just growing up a lot and like looking at things logically and impartially, and something that I've even said on my podcast, and like my first episode is like, just the animosity that you get from both sides is like terrifying. Like I hate it. There's nothing more. There's nothing that like I hate more than like that. And hate's a very strong word. But I think where I started, like I said, on a lot of things, and I think a lot of people are like this too. I mean, some people definitely might not be, but I think a lot of people maybe lean one way towards certain aspects or topics and lean another way in another area. So, like, and that's how it should be. There's a spectrum there. You shouldn't be confined to a single party and have to toe the party line.
Exactly.
So I think that's where.
That's what we said in our last episode. Is like a lot of people make things black and white.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time it's gray. A lot of the time it's gray.
Aspects. Like, and on top of that too, it's like, I mean, I can't speak for how it is in like Republican like circles or anything, but I know like you see it all the time, like on the left for sure. Like if someone is like, oh, I'm for Medicare for all, I'm for all this stuff, and then they say one thing that's not necessarily like in agreement with that too, it's like, well, then you're just a fake progressive that's like, like helping someone else, or like you're helping, like you're. And it's like, no, it's like, because I know like something isn't gonna work, or it's not, or nothing's gonna work, or like I don't think it's possible for us to get that done anytime soon.
Well,
so
and I think too, like a lot of people, it's like their views are based off of lived experiences, right? And so it's like, again, like where we live, where we grew up, what we've seen, what we've been through, will shape our views. But I think like something when it comes down to politics that I've realized in the past few years, because I mean, when I was younger, I didn't know shit about politics. I didn't know anything. I voted for the first time when I was 18, and then like, but I didn't really know what I was voting for. You know, like I was just kind of like, oh, this is how my parents vote. And then from that, like after going to college and like taking certain classes and like studying certain things, is when I was just like, holy shit, like there's so much more to this, and it's so intricate, and there's no perfect system, and our system's fucked, and like it just was like a brain explosion kind of thing for me, where I was just like, okay, I need to like gather my thoughts and figure out like where I stand. But I think like a lot of people feel that way, and I think sometimes it's so overwhelming that people feel helpless, that they just kind of feel like, I want nothing to do with politics.
Oh, for sure. Well, independent is the biggest voting bloc. Most people are registered independent and they don't vote. And that's a sad part about it. But like, I mean, like towing party lines, like, I mean, I'm always gonna be a Bernie stan, I guess, but like look at the way he was like criticized, like, because everyone's like, oh look, Bernie, he doesn't want to ban guns like the way a lot of other people do. It's like, dude, he's a senator from Vermont. Like Vermont is a huge hunting. It's a huge hunting state. He understands that not everyone that wants a gun and wants to shoot up a school. Like it's not, that's not a black and white issue either. So it's like
everything's great. But so you kind of like grew up, experienced more things, saw more things, maybe made more friends in different parts of like different demographics, and you were kind of like, okay, I can see that.
And again, I think a lot of it was just taking in different perspectives. And honestly, I mean, things have definitely, like, my thinking has changed, but it hasn't been anything like radical, like 180. Like I was here, now I'm here. A lot of it's been like, I could have always seen the merit in that, but like now, like, let me look into that a little further. And I think a lot of that has come from, like you said, just growing up and experiences, like, you know, getting into teaching now. Like, there are different needs, especially in my demographic that I teach, where I'm like, there are certain things that, I mean, obviously I'm a teacher. I would love more money. I would love my school to have more money. Like, I'm not going to talk about my own salary, because relatively, like, California gets paid more than other states. But, like, that's crazy in itself. That you know.
I was gonna say too, like being an education system could shift you a certain way too.
I mean, and there's always gonna be certain things where I'm more conservative, and there's gonna be things where like I'm very open to like let's change this. Like let's sit down. Like education's a huge one for me. Even different aspects of healthcare are, and you know, but there's
like you're gonna experience so many different kids where you're gonna connect with them, and you're gonna feel for them, and you're gonna be empathetic towards them, and you're gonna see situations that you never went through as a kid growing up, and you're gonna go, wow, like how can we help them? And that might also change your view on certain things where before you were like, nah, I don't really see how that like helps, and then you're like, oh, okay, no, like I get that.
I think the main issue is just both politicians themselves and people who are like devout towards their party. It's that they're not willing to like see that and to compromise on that, and like they're entitled to do that. They're entitled to their opinion in that 100%. Fashion. But until you like you sit down and have conversations like this, and like you actually like are willing to compromise on some things, like nothing gets done. Like there's always, if you have a Senate that's controlled by Republicans and a House that's controlled by Democrats, what's gonna get passed? Nothing. Like I've joked with people. I'm like, you know, really, if we're, you know, for the presidency, we should have one person who is one party and one person who's another.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing gets done already.
Yeah,
nothing
right.
gets passed already. So I mean, what's the worst that can happen? I mean, I'm joking, but it's like it's one of those things where it's been a lot of just like logical shifting. Like there's still things that like I'm very like in support of, and there's other things where I'm very much open to. And at some in certain cases, I'm like, well, what's the worst that can happen? We can just go back to the other thing if it doesn't work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that's. I mean, people always think like that's. Well, that's a very productive way of thinking about it. It's like it's counterproductive to be like, no, this is the only way it can be. Because like I mean, people think it's fucking like back during the Boston Tea Party or something. Like you can't just like throw the whole system and expect things to change. Like no, like that's not how it works now. And if you tried it, you're not gonna like the result.
Well, and I think so many people are militant about what they believe in, and because a lot of the times like identity politics is a huge thing.
Yep.
And a lot of politicians these days like adhere to identity politics, which is why so many people are like these like diehard Trump fans or diehard. I don't know who the fuck is a diehard Mitch McConnell fan. But there's someone because he's getting votes.
Turtles?
I don't know. But because they're picking a demographic and they're adhering to that identity, and people are feeling like this person hears me and this person sees me.
Identity politics is probably one of the most disgusting. Like,
but it works. But it works, and that's the crazy thing, and like that's what they've been doing for a very long time.
I think it's changing now. People are seeing now that's like because it's like
like this person might be speaking for you in campaigns or whatever, but like let's look at like what they've actually done.
Yeah, definitely.
And like when you do that, it's like how much have they actually helped you?
Right.
And then let's also compare that to like other presidencies, right? Or what were they handed when they got there? How were things when they got there? Because it's really easy to do certain things when you're handed a pretty like floating ship, but if you're handed a sinking boat, how did they get out of that?
Yeah.
So I think that's definitely like an interesting to look at.
Yeah.
But I mean, crazy year.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Crazy year.
I mean, it's wild. Yeah.
And then like us and everybody else started a podcast this year because we have nothing else to do really.
Except when we're doing the podcast, we're thinking like, oh shit, we don't have to do this and that because.
It's an excuse.
Yeah,
I mean,
we have to do a lot of excuses.
Yeah.
You know how much time I sleep? Like, not sleep, but like, I just like waste throughout the day when I could be doing something for this. Like, I'm like, oh yeah, I could get this done early, or I could wait until.
Don't say that. Don't say that. Because I text us and I go, hey, how's things going? He's like, great, don't worry. And the next day he's like, ah, shit.
It's going great. I'm working on it right now as I'm in the kitchen making food or something.
He's like making a freaking quesadilla. Yeah. He's like, I'm literally almost done.
Yeah.
Nothing has been touched.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, podcasting has been fun for us.
It's been fun, yeah.
And like we've always said, like we hope that at some point, like this gets to a point like where we can like give our full time and attention to this. Like right now, we're both working full time jobs, and I work more than full time most of the time. Like I travel a lot for my job, so I'm exhausted. And this day is literally the only day I can do this.
Yeah.
And it's been even harder because my dad just moved.
Yeah.
So I'm like, now I gotta take an hour away from my dad. Like I don't see him, but. We finally made it a priority and we did it.
Yeah, we did.
And we're happy to.
And we're going still. Like we just bought a hard drive. And that doesn't seem like that thing,
but
it's like it's something that's like
we bought a hard drive, we bought a ring light.
Boom.
We're putting money in this. There. We bought a table. This tiny little
that's
thing.
Like I think that's what kind of what it took though. It was like, well, you know what? I guess we just have to start spending some money.
Once you spend the money, you have to use it.
We got a logo.
There you go. Yeah, that's a nice logo. I like it a lot.
Shout out to David.
Shout out to David Chavez.
Logo.
If you guys need any type of logos or like digital design, he's amazing.
He's great. Yeah.
Yes.
I love that logo, honestly.
But yeah, so something else we want to transition into because we like to talk about like current events, right, and things that are going on in the world, and just kind of our opinion and where we stand. But we felt like we couldn't not talk about this today, so we wanted to talk about Brandon Bernard. And so for those of you who don't know who Brandon Bernard is, he was executed. He had the death penalty for a crime he committed when he was 18 years old. And he is 2 of 4 black men that are being executed for death penalty before Biden's inauguration.
He was an accomplice to the crime, right?
He was, well, yes.
Obviously,
he was an accomplice. I mean, if we get really deep into it, yeah. When you look at his case, the majority of the jurors who ruled for the death penalty for him, and they've seen like how he's carried out his life since
how he's
then,
been reformed.
and he's reformed and rehabilitated. He like reaches out to youth groups and says like, hey, like this is how my life went. This is how I ended up in prison. Like, please do not do this. The majority of the jurors have said, like, we don't think that he should be executed anymore. Like, we've seen him rehabilitate, we've seen him turn his life around, we've seen that he was 18 and he made a really bad decision, and he wasn't even as involved in the crime as the rest of the people that were there.
Like, not like
There's evidence showing that, you know, he was coerced into the part that he did involve himself in, which was burning the car, which had 2 people inside of it, which killed them. And we're not going to belittle that crime, right? Like, people died, and that's really fucked up, and he served the time that he was supposed to, but, like, prison worked the way that it was, the way that the system is meant to work for someone.
Working, and then it was like the very end, it's like...
He was rehabilitated, he turned his life around, right? And then he was executed. So we kind of want to talk about, like, him, we want to talk about the death penalty, we want to talk, but we want to, like, kind of hand it over to you for where do you stand on that? Like, how do you feel about this situation?
Yeah, and I don't even know all the, like, the intricacies of the case, but I think in general, I think that's another thing where, like, my thinking has definitely kind of changed. I feel like, especially when I was younger, I would have been like, retribution. Like, you commit a murder, like, eye for an eye, you know? And, I feel like that is, as we've been saying, such a gray area, and I think, honestly, I can't even say for sure. I don't have the answer. I think that I'm a lot more compassionate and understanding now, especially in certain situations. Again, I don't know the case in particular, but like my faith guides like pretty much all my decision making. Like that's what I try to have it do, and you know, we're all young, we make mistakes, and I think that there are certain circumstances. And I'm not like endorsing like, oh, dude, if he didn't turn his life over to Christ, then like he's still got to go. Like that's not what I'm saying, but I, just as a disclaimer. But I think a lot of like you said, like making sure that the system works and is able to like actually rehabilitate them and integrate them in society is what it's supposed to do. And if that change is able to happen, then I definitely think like an appeals case, like additional or whatever it may be, should be taken into consideration. I think another huge issue with it, whether you're for it or against it, is its inefficiency. I mean, you can't...
People are waiting...
Regardless of what you think, right?
Yeah.
And let's say, like, even if everyone here was totally against it, let's say there was an event that one person did that was completely unforgivable. We all agreed unanimously, like, this person deserves it.
The process...
Even if we did, he wouldn't die for another 50 years.
Well, and like something...
It makes no sense.
And that's something, so like I follow like the ACLU, which is the American Civil Liberty Union, and they're against the death penalty, obviously. But that's what they kind of say is like, this is a waste of taxpayers' money. Like, this person committed a crime when they were 18, right? And they're going to be executed how many years later?
And on top of that...
And then on top of that, but they say like, also like, it's not really like... It
doesn't defer you from doing crimes either. Like, if someone wants to murder someone, they're going to murder someone, and murder hasn't gone down.
Well, they also say like, it's kind of like unethical for the justice system to decide who lives and who dies in society. Like, regardless of the crime that you've committed, like, we shouldn't be killing human beings. Like, that's not for us. That's not for humans to decide.
And that's my change. Like, that's like, I don't think... I don't know. It's such a sticky subject. But like I could never be on a jury. Like I don't know. I've never been on a jury where I've had to do that. But like
I got
you're conscious. Like I don't know how that would like sit with me. You know, if I like said like one thing and then like what if I regret it? So I think.
Or and you can't change that.
Yeah, you can't change it. And even I mean like I don't know how often appeals actually work. I'm assuming not very often.
It takes a lot of support.
That maybe doesn't have
a lot of pressure.
A good lawyer. Maybe you have like a public defender.
And that's the other thing. That's the other thing that they say is like the death penalty is going to be extremely biased because the people that don't have the money to pay for the representation are not going to get the help that they need. You know, and of course that's predominantly brown, black, people of color, indigenous people, and it's like. That's not fair. And then we're seeing that right now. Like the people that are being executed are black people. And it's not because black people commit more crimes, it's because black people get prosecuted more often.
They might not have the resources to defend themselves. But and also like about the case, I mean, like I said, I'm not huge on the case. I think what I do know, I think he was 18 when he did it.
Yes.
He didn't kill them. They were shot.
Yes.
And then I think one of them might have been like partially alive before the car set on fire.
Yes.
Which is horrible. It's a disgusting
No, and it's
act.
a terrible crime. It's
But
and that's
how
the
old is he
thing.
now?
It's like we're not
he's
like deferring that like the crime wasn't terrible and it should have never happened. It's just that like we talked about this last week. But like prison is a rehabilitation system.
Supposed to be.
It's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And this is kind of like where I stand. Like the death penalty, I don't think it should be a thing because the system, all systems in society, they're never going to be perfect. There's always going to be someone who's going to be executed who shouldn't have been executed.
Yep.
And there's people that are exonerated off of death row.
I feel like one person is already one too many. So it's like why
Exactly, like how many people are we going to risk and are we going to sacrifice for the rest of the people who deserve it to die? Like that's kind of like the argument. And so I wanted to just bring something up from the ACLU that I read, and it says basically that the vast majority of law enforcement professionals surveyed agree that capital punishment does not deter violent crime, so the death penalty. A survey of police chiefs nationwide found they ranked the death penalty lowest among ways to reduce violent crime. They ranked increasing the number of police officers, reducing drug abuse, and creating a better economy with more jobs higher than the death penalty as the best ways to reduce violence. And then this part is what it really was interesting to me, is the FBI found that states with the death penalty have the highest murder rates. Innocent people are too often sentenced to death. Since 1973, over 156 people have been released from death row in 26 states because of innocence. Nationally, at least one person is exonerated for every 10 that are executed.
Damn, I didn't know that at all.
And then I've listened to like other podcasts and like I've read other studies and they've said like that's not even counting the people that were still innocent that still died.
Or that are still on it currently.
And it's like we see that all the time. We see it all the time. People being persecuted for crimes that they didn't commit because they just fit the profile for it.
Yeah.
And so the system's never going to be perfect, which is why we shouldn't be executing people.
Yeah, that's why the smartest way.
We shouldn't be
But
making that decision.
I feel like logic is not the best way that we know how to do. Like in general.
Things are.
I think it's a double-edged sword. Like you can't, like maybe the reason why it hasn't deterred people from committing, murder or whatever, other serious violent crimes is because they know, okay, even if they're not thinking of this consciously, but if I get caught, even if I get convicted of the worst, it won't be until another 40 years. I'll still live my life regardless of if it's at home or at prison. So either you do one of two things. The first option sounds medieval. You make it you make it immediate. You get convicted within 30 days. Boom. And that happens, and then everyone's like, whoa, okay, then it's like immediate. Either that, which will never happen because that sounds insane. Or again, you find a solution to mitigate those different things. I think, and again, it's so. I've definitely shifted from like that eye for an eye thing, but I think we have to also look at like certain individuals and their history as well, because he's the gentleman there, right? Been since he was 18, got convicted, been in prison his entire life until unfortunately that just happened. But like there are other individuals, like California's a great example, the 3 strikes law. Like 3 of those crimes, you're in jail for the rest of your life. Yeah. And I'm not saying that we find a way. I'm not saying that we continue with the death penalty or not, but there are certain cases where some people just should not be allowed to be out on the street. Oh yeah. And I'm willing to fall on a sword on that. Like there are certain people who have gone to prison time and time again, and it's. I'm actually reading a book on Charles Manson. It's very interesting. It's called Chaos.
I love that book.
It's really good.
It's halfway through. The only audiobook I've ever done with it.
I think it's fantastic. But I think it's interesting even to look at people like that because like when you start listening to like true crime podcasts or you get really into true crime, like you see like certain things being like these common denominators of people who commit really heinous crimes like that over and over and over again. Yeah. And it's usually like they had a really bad traumatic upbringing. They had a really traumatic physical experience. There's things like that, and it's just like, but there are ways early on for society to prevent that, and that's the issue for me. Is like when people don't have the resources, when people don't have, when they're in an abusive household growing up, it's like, well, I mean, I could never sit here and be like. I don't think anyone should commit murder. I don't think anybody should commit any of these crimes. But it's just kind of like, how can I even try to say that I like what I would do having gone through that, experience? Yeah. I don't know.
No, yeah, that's fair.
I don't know how I would have ended up. And like, not everybody has the same cognitive experience. Like, some people are going to genetically struggle with depression or anxiety or bipolar disorder or things like that. And I gotta factor in all these things. And it's not to say that people don't deserve to be punished for the crimes that they do, especially when they're heinous ones. But like, capital punishment, I really don't think should be our decision.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it should. And like, the prison system doesn't work the way that it's set up now. And we've seen that over and over and over again.
Yeah, and then on top of that too, I think also like go back to your point, like how like they're like, well, I'm gonna do this and then be on there for 50 years, so it doesn't matter. I just got locked up basically. Also, I think someone, if they're willing to commit murder or something to get them like capitally punished,
they're not
gonna care about dying
they're
at
not
all.
thinking
It's
about
like
the
like
consequences.
the school shooter logic, like, oh, like, you know, this person went in there and like they arrested him and it's fine or whatever. But it's like, you know, he didn't care if like someone else was gonna shoot him. He thought he was gonna go on the blaze of glory and die.
Well, and then like on top of that is like, then we see also like the disproportionate persecution of people of color and black people, because like, you can bring up people who are school shooters, killed 17 people, are white, and got taken to Burger King before they went to prison and aren't on death row, right? And then you have people like Brandon Bernard, who unfortunately was in a situation where he made a bad decision, a really bad decision, and he hurt people and it resulted in them dying. Yeah. But he wasn't the person that did it, right? Yeah. Like, he was an accomplice to the murder and he was put to death for it. But it's like, well, okay. Yeah. I mean, if you're gonna do that to one person, do it to everybody, right?
Well, I think there's, like everything, like we could talk about the tax system.
Again, yeah.
It's not black and white. We can talk about the tax system. We can talk about whatever. There's loopholes to everything. Yeah. You could, claiming someone doesn't have the mental capability to know what they were doing, that can get you out of that.
Well, and like,
that circumvents that.
That's a part of like the white privilege that we see, is because we mostly see like white males doing these crimes, and it's kind of like, well, we have more sympathy for them, right? The media portrays them in a different way than they portray black people who commit crimes. Like, we see that constantly. We see the white dad, family man, who gets a picture of him and his family, but he killed his whole family. But his picture of his family and like, on a Christmas photo is on the front of a magazine. But the black guy who committed a crime,
he stole candy from the store one time.
His photo from jail is the picture that's on the cover of the magazine. Like, we see that constantly.
And on top of that too, like, when it comes to like certain, you can like claim insanity and be like, okay, well, we don't think you're fit to stand trial. But that's also decided from a judge too. So maybe someone is black,
or their lawyer who is able to lobby on their behalf.
Exactly.
If you don't have a public defender.
So it's a very shitty system. It's not a good system.
Which is what we're saying. Like, the system is fucked, and this is why, like, if we're going to continue with the system, like, more people of color, more women of color, more minorities need to be in these positions of power that are deciding this, because it's like, they're going to have seen at least some of the situations that they've been in. They're going to have more empathy for them. They're going to see them as people and not just
Yeah, but then like on top of that too, like the idea of like how like the way it works too, it's like you're trying, like, you can be a lawyer and know your client's fully guilty, but you're like, I'm trying to win though. I'm gonna win this. Same way you could be a public defender that are obviously still a lawyer, but like you can go the opposite way where it's like, my client's innocent, but I don't have the resources to help him.
Yeah, so I have like 50 other clients, and like all of their cases.
I follow a public defender on Twitter, and he got like right when he got hired, he got like 100 cases like his first week. He was like, what? That's crazy. Like, how is that? Like, that's not even possible. But yeah, so it's because it's like more like a game in that sense, that like they're like, well, I'm gonna win. I'm trying to win. Yeah. Like, no matter what, like I'm gonna get someone to withhold evidence. I'm gonna do whatever I can do. Make sure that evidence isn't usable in court. Yeah. Like, I just think, I think what you said, it's a tough subject, because it's kind of like, we can sit here and say it's wrong, but like, then what's the solution, right? And I know that people have one. I know that we can do the research to like kind of look into it and say like, oh, like this is a solution to that, or like we can do this instead of that, and they're out there, right? We can look into that, and we will. But we just kind of wanted to touch on it because we felt like it was a really important thing that happened, and it's unfortunately, like 24 hours later, another black man was executed after him, and I just feel wrong about it. And I feel wrong that the Trump administration is doing this, and they're like hurrying it. So it will happen before Biden comes in. And it's not to say that Biden wouldn't do the same thing. Yeah, it's not. I mean, you can look at Biden's record.
I'm not going to sit here and be like, Biden's a saint when it comes to this, but I'm just saying, like, I just don't like it's being rushed. Especially for this specific case, when there's been so many people, especially the people that sentenced him to that, are saying like, we were wrong. Yeah,
I can't imagine how they feel right now either. Like,
I would feel terrible. Yeah, I can imagine.
That's it.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I think it's so. I mean, if we want to find any silver lining, and there's there's always heavy topics. It's like always hard to find one.
Yeah.
Like, our judicial system isn't perfect. Nowhere's is, but I have enough faith in ours to think that, for the most part, relative to a lot of parts of the world, it's better than other places. The same thing could have happened in any number of, Middle Eastern countries where you could be persecuted for X, Y, and Z, doing something as simple as whatever.
Or
right?
Asian countries,
or Asian countries,
Mexico.
and it could
literally murder drug dealers.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And it could be immediate.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying, like, I'm not saying that it's perfect. It's better than a lot of places, but I think we all have to recognize that, like, we're the standard. Like, my biggest thing, I am incredibly patriotic in that way, like, in a lot of ways, but, like, in the way that, like, we're the standard. If something is wrong with the way that we're doing something, like, we should fix it because people look to us as the model.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Jess and I want to move to New Zealand, so.
There's like big spiders over there.
Hey, you know what?
Hey, but they're COVID free. I don't know if they'll let us in though. I don't know if they'll let us in.
They not want any Americans.
I think
Absolutely
I
not.
would deal with the free healthcare, or I'd deal with spiders to get free healthcare. I think that's my silver lining on that one.
You know what? I can't move to Australia, because Australia is like almost COVID free. Like they're like having like actual events and stuff now. They're
people
doing
like
really,
walking
really
around.
well. Yeah, they're having a great time over there.
Yeah,
And I'm
get punched by a
I'm
kangaroo,
like, that
right?
sounds like so much fun, but also like, have you seen the bugs?
I have a friend that moved from Australia. He said it's not that bad.
My friends.
But then he sent me a picture from he's like, this is like how they are. It was like a crab in his corner. I was like, what the fuck, dude?
What's that doing
I
there?
can't even count the tiny ones.
I don't like
I
things
let
that crush,
them go,
so-
and I'm like, you know what? Out of sight, out of mind.
When they get like this big,
Yeah.
poisonous.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah,
fun.
my friend lives in Australia, and she just seems like she's just having such a great time, and I don't think
She's
I
lying.
could do it.
Yeah, she's
I
lying.
don't
she's
think
not-
I could do it.
She's not showing the desert.
She's getting paid off by the spiders.
They're like, hey, we'll stay out of your house and act like this is a good time.
tell more people to get over here. Come on.
Yeah, but I think we've kind of touched on everything we wanted to touch on. Please, let's rate the beers.
Yeah.
I love these.
I thought it was great.
This was so easy to drink.
This isn't because I said the last one tastes like soapy water. Like, it's
Hey,
not.
okay, I want to say I had 3 other people try it. My dad, my sister, and her fiance. And her fiance also said that he tasted the soapiness.
Oh, okay.
Okay. But my dad and my sister both were like, no, this is good. So I don't know, but I don't know.
Personal preference.
I don't
Sometimes
know.
it's just a
I don't know
It is.
what palettes they have
Yeah.
that I couldn't tell you if you're going to like it or not.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I love
But this
it.
one,
Solid.
solid.
I like it.
And it wasn't even like I messed up, didn't buy it cold. So we put it in the freezer for what, maybe 10 minutes?
10 minutes.
And it's good.
No, I like it a lot.
Rating out of 10, what do we think?
I'll say 8.
I'm going to give it a 9 because I don't really drink stouts very often, but this has been really easy for me to drink. And
It's low in alcohol, that's what I realized. So.
I think I could drink all 3 of these.
That's a little heavy for me.
No, I think I could. No, I think I could.
No, okay.
Yeah.
How about you?
I would say 8.
8?
Yeah. I really like it. I like how it's like, I'm not gonna pretend like I know beer terminology, even though my roommate was worked at Chavez for a long time.
Yeah.
But I don't like I like the amount of flavor that it has. Like, I don't like how it's overpowering and it's not like sweet. Like, I've tasted a few that are like overly sweet. Like, they try to like overcompensate with it. But like,
you can
this
like
is
pour
good.
on some ice cream. Yeah.
Like, I like a dry red wine. Like, that's what I would compare this to.
Oh, we could have drank wine.
That's very classy. We'd have to get dressed up.
Yeah, we have to get dressed. You're closer to dressed up than I am. So.
Next time we have Christian on the podcast, we'll drink wine and we'll
In
all
suits.
dress in like our nicest clothes.
I'll rent a tux.
I won't
Yeah.
wear a beanie. Or maybe I will.
Why
I
not?
don't know.
Why not? Yeah.
Maybe like a sparkly beanie.
That's fine.
What do you want to do?
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this was a good episode. We're very happy to
Thanks for
have
having
you
me on.
on.
Yeah, it was
We
awesome.
hope that your viewers will come see us and our viewers will come see you. Please
Have
plug
to.
your podcast. Plug your podcast.
The Civil Society podcast is up everywhere. I'm hoping Apple Music. Though it's also available on Spotify and literally everything else. We have a YouTube channel as well. We have an Instagram page. It'll all be there.
What's your Instagram handle?
Civ Soch. Come on.
It just followed me the other day,
Let's
or
look
I think
at
our
it.
page,
Yeah.
and we'll look at it.
Civ.
I think there's a period in there somewhere. Yeah, Civ.
There's a
So-
Civ period.
No, it's Civ SOC period podcast.
That's what it is.
There we go.
Civ Soch period podcast, and that's it. I have the exclusive rights to that, so you can go check that out.
Good job, good job.
But yeah, this was great.
It
Thank
was
you
great.
so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It was awesome.
I'm Kelsey. You can find my social medias. I'm not gonna plug them because they're really weird handles. But Justin, You can plug yours if you
Justin
want to.
Vasquez 22 on everything.
But our podcast Instagram is Not So Period Happy Hour, and we would love to see you on there. Please follow, please like, please comment, please subscribe, and we hope to be up on other audio
we're gonna probably pick your brain about
platforms.
that.
Yes.
After.
Yeah, we want to be there for you guys, so you don't have to always see us on YouTube, and you can just listen to our voice instead of having to stare at our faces. But yeah, cheers.
Cheers. Thank you guys for having me on. Appreciate
All
it.
right.